In medieval warfare, pitched battles between knights were rare compared to the long, grinding sieges that determined control of castles and cities. Within these sieges, missile weapons played a central role, shaping daily life on both sides of the walls. The longbow and the crossbow became the two most influential ranged weapons of the era, each bringing distinct strengths and weaknesses. The longbow offered speed, range, and constant pressure, while the crossbow provided precision, armor penetration, and effectiveness in tight defensive positions. Their rivalry was not just about technology, but about training, logistics, and how armies adapted to the harsh realities of prolonged blockades. Understanding which weapon proved superior requires looking closely at the roles each played in the exhausting and brutal conditions of medieval siege warfare. Number 1. Life under siege. Medieval warfare is often imagined as knights charging in bright armor, but most conflicts were settled in sieges that dragged on for weeks or months. The besieging army surrounded the target with trenches, wooden palisades, and guard posts to cut off supplies and starve the defenders. Roads leading to the fortress were blocked, patrols watched day and night, and engineers worked undercover to raise earthworks, push heavy rams, and build towers that creaked slowly toward the walls. Inside, the garrison rationed every sack of grain and salted meat, patched cracks in stone after bombardments, and slept in their armor because at any moment a bell could signal an assault on the walls. Daily life in these situations revolved around missile fire. Arrows and bolts weren't just background noise, they defined the rhythm of each day. From sunrise to sunset, shafts hissed through the air, bolts snapped out of arrow slits, and every movement above the battlements risked being your last. Longbows and crossbows each shaped that reality in distinct ways. The longbow, with its range and rate of fire, could turn open ground into a death zone, keeping defenders away from repairing breaches or venturing out for water. The crossbow, slower but more precise, thrived in moments of sudden exposure. A single bolt loosed from a loophole could pick off an officer, silence a lookout, or punish a soldier leaning out to direct workers. The atmosphere was one of grinding pressure. Hunger, damp weather, and fatigue wore down both sides. A longbow line might maintain a steady beat of arrows to deny the wolves during daylight, but those archers weakened as weeks passed. Crossbowmen, though slower, could remain effective longer, since their weapon demanded less constant physical strain. For commanders, the question of superiority wasn't about flashy duels, but about which weapon still worked after rain-ruined bowstrings, which soldiers could shoot in cramped hoardings without exposing themselves, and which crews could keep up under malnutrition. Superiority in siege warfare meant surviving those thousand small tests of endurance and timing, where one well-placed shot or one forced hesitation could tip the balance between holding the fortress and losing it. Number 2. How each weapon actually worked. The longbow was a tall, powerful stave, usually made of yew, ash, or elm, and it relied completely on the archer's body. To use it well meant drawing with the strength of the back, shoulders, and arms all at once, often against a pull weight of 80 to 120 pounds. That level of strain was not something a soldier could learn in a few weeks. Archers needed years of training from youth, developing muscle memory and endurance so that drawing to the ear and releasing felt as natural as breathing. Once mastered, the longbow became a devastating weapon in the hands of a trained force. Skilled bowmen could loose 6 to 10 arrows per minute, creating a wall of projectiles that covered open ground and harassed defenders constantly. In sieges, this ability to maintain pressure made it almost impossible for garrisons to carry out repairs or sorties during daylight. Entire stretches of wall could be locked down, not by accuracy alone, but by the relentless rhythm of arrows. The crossbow, by contrast, replaced muscle with mechanics. Instead of relying on continuous strength, it stored energy in the bow and held it with a trigger. Spanning could be done with belt hooks, levers, or complex cranks, and though this slowed the firing cycle, once cocked the crossbow allowed the shooter to wait calmly for the right moment. That feature made it ideal in siege warfare, where small windows of exposure mattered more than speed. From behind pavises or through arrow loops, crossbowmen could watch patiently and punish a defender who showed himself for even a second. The weapon's short, thick bolts carried immense kinetic force, and at close range they could pierce armor more reliably than arrows. This precision and power made them especially dangerous in defensive roles on the battlements or during assaults at ladders and towers. The differences in rate of fire and stamina shaped their roles. Longbowmen delivered continuous volleys, but their effectiveness declined if forced into cramped galleries or after weeks of exhaustion. Crossbowmen were slower, 1 or 2 shots a minute for heavy models, but could stay hidden longer and fire with deadly accuracy when timing counted most. Conditions also mattered. Rain stretched bowstrings and dulled the longbow's effectiveness, while the crossbow, though also vulnerable to moisture, was easier to operate in confined or wet environments. On open fields in dry weather, the longbow remained unmatched for range and volume. On walls or in siege towers, the crossbow proved superior in controlled, close engagements. The social side was just as important. Longbow armies required generations of training and a cultural commitment to archery, as in medieval England. Crossbows, however, could be mastered more quickly, making them suitable for militias or mercenary units raised in cities. That contrast explains why both weapons coexisted. The longbow as a weapon of endurance and massed fire, the crossbow as a tool of patience and precision. Together, they defined the mechanics of siege warfare, each filling gaps the other could not. Number 3. Defending from stone and timber. On battlements where space is tight and sightlines are broken by merlins, hoardings, and machicolations, the crossbow matches the setting. A spanned bow held by a trigger keeps full power on tap, while the shooter waits in the shadow of an arrow slit, releasing the instant a helmet rises at a crenel. Interior splays cut into the wall widen the field of fire without exposing the torso, and cross-shaped loopholes accommodate the tiller while allowing a small horizontal traverse. With a pavis or a portable mantlet set on the wall walk, a 2-man team 1 shooter, 1 loader, maintains a steady tempo even under bombardment. Bolts travel on a flatter path at short ranges, making it easier to pick precise targets. The engineer signaling a work party, the sapper peering from a trench mouth, the torchbearer sprinting toward a hoarding post. Longbows still contribute from stone, but they need space to draw cleanly and perform best from flanking towers, gatehouses, or wider platforms where an archer can step, anchor, and loose without clipping a stave on timber. From those positions, high arching fire rakes the approaches, disrupts Gabian lines, and forces mantlet crews to halt and reset. Weather and fatigue tilt the balance. Rain and gusty crosswinds degrade long-range arcs. Cramped galleries punish full-body draws. Thin rations sap endurance. A braced crossbow with a windlass or cranaquin keeps delivering measured shots when hands are numb, and footing is slick. Ammunition logistics favor defense as well. Short, stout bolts stack in bins along the wall walk, resist warping, and can be fetched quickly during alarms, while arrow barrels occupy more space and suffer more from damp. Defensive routine builds around this reality. Bells call reliefs. Crossbowmen occupy the slits. Loaders keep cords waxed and spanning gear dry. Stones, quicklime, and incendiaries drop only after bolts drive heads below parapets. When siege towers touch the wall or ladders thump into place, the close quarters duel turns on half seconds, and the weapon that can hold aim behind cover and punish a single exposed hand or visor hinge carries the moment. Number 4. Attacking through arrows and bolts. In the muddy belt around a besieged fortress, attackers relied heavily on missile fire to control space and protect their engineers. Longbowmen were usually stationed at the forward line behind ditches and stakes, their volleys forming a constant curtain of arrows that kept defenders pinned behind merlins and hoardings. This suppression allowed carpenters to build rams and towers and sappers to advance gabions closer to the walls with less interference. A massed volley rarely killed in large numbers, but denied defenders the freedom to move openly, forcing them to delay repairs and abandon exposed positions. Crossbowmen worked under this umbrella of long-range fire, moving forward with pavises and using their accuracy to exploit fleeting chances. During ladder assaults, longbow volleys drove defenders off the battlements for crucial seconds, while crossbowmen targeted any soldier leaning over to push ladders away, their bolts hitting with enough force to disrupt the defense of critical points. When siege towers rolled up, Crossbow duels erupted between attackers inside the top decks and defenders on the parapet, each side waiting for the other to expose a gap. In such tight contests, the crossbow's ability to hold a drawn shot was invaluable. Night actions, often attempts to burn hoardings or sabotage gates, showed another contrast. Longbows could still fire, but their rhythm and movement made them harder to conceal, while crossbowmen could cock in advance, remain silent, and fire only when a torch revealed a target. Weather also influenced tactics. Strong winds and rain reduced the longbow's effectiveness at long range, pushing commanders to favor the flatter, more direct crossbow shot. In clear conditions, however, the longbow's sustained volleys tested defender stamina over entire days. Successful assaults blended the two weapons, archers creating area denial, crossbows delivering decisive strikes. Even as gunpowder weapons began appearing, bows remained crucial. Crude hand cannons and bombards were slow to reload,